Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday, the 26th of October. I hope you are all doing well. I have got a couple of friends here to help answer your questions. I am, of course, Dom of X. Let's introduce the panel. Who are you to my right?
My name is Kurtis, and I am part of the Epic Marvel podcast. I am happy to be here. Shout out to Omar. We are all thinking of you, and we hope everything is doing okay.
100%. 100%. Who are you to the bottom, my man?
OmniDog from OmniDog's Vault. Thanks for having me. And these are three of my very good friends, so I'm very much looking forward to tearing into the... Oh, wait, that's not what this stream is. This is a fun, nice stream. Okay, I'm looking forward to having fun with them.
Looking forward to having fun with you too, Jess.
Pretend to be nice. Pretend to be nice.
And who are you to my diagonal right?
Yes, Lars Pearson, publisher and editor-in-chief of Mad Norwegian Press, formerly of Wizard Magazine. And we are, of course, here on Saturday morning, as is the custom, to filling in for Omar, to hold court, as it were, because we understand the importance of holding court. Because when you, and I say this in the most positive way, when you're geeks, like we all are, you have thoughts. You have thoughts that you need to get out of your head. And we hold court here so you don't have to burden your friends, your family, your wife, your whatever with these thoughts, okay? And in this way, we prevent the geek uprising. All right. We're just here to soothe everybody. Well, I am mostly kidding, of course. Although a friend of mine, he had a relationship and the relationship was getting serious. Okay, serious. Finally there. And so as part of this seriousness of their relationship, his girlfriend sat him down and he was a big Doctor Who fan. And she said, okay, I suppose the moment has come that you need to explain Doctor Who to me. It's going to be a big thing in their life moving forward. So, these discussions need to be had, and we are happy to have them.
No, we're happy to have you guys too. Geek in or geek out or whatever you would like to call it. But yes, we are here to fill in the void for Omar. The one thing that I can say as far as updates on his situation goes is that he is handling it as well as possible. I think that's the best way that I can word it. Obviously, it's a very, very tough time for him, for Melanie, his kids, and his entire family. All of our prayers and thoughts are going out to him on stream today. My sense is that he will be back fully recording at some point next week on Tuesday or Wednesday. That is the impression I'm getting because we are working on stuff behind the scenes to get the schedule back on track. But as I've told him as well, however long he needs to take off of YouTube, very happy for all of you guys, as well as other people in the comics content creation community that are stepping up to the plate. BJ is helping us out with a video that's coming out next week on Tuesday. And a couple of other folks, including the three people I have here, we are trying to figure out something fun with all of us to sort of pick up the load as well. So we thank you all for the love, the messages, everything that you're sending in. We would not be here without you. So thank you all. Now I don't even know where to pick up in the chat because I feel like I've lost like 9-10 minutes of time.
Unstoppable bar saying, Jess, OMG, I'm your biggest fan at 11:07. That's a good one.
Oh, there we go.
Woo!
Jess, OMG, I'm your biggest fan.
Yay, bar.
My
on.
God, this person needs to do some self-examination. My goodness.
She has.
Yes.
And this is what she's stuck with. Me.
Jess has all the control in the stream bar.
Well, Jess, you have business cards that just say, for occupation, say demagogue, don't you?
Yeah, and above that, scratched off is unemployable.
Many demagogues are. That's how they get there.
And that's why you're a YouTuber.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I'm my own boss here.
No, we're more than happy to fill in for Omar during this time. And of course, fortunately for him, we are available and are available at the right price, which is free. So that always helps. That always helps. Yeah.
It does. but yeah, again, we'd love to thank you and for all the wishes. I know that he's hurting right now, but I think a lot of the love has definitely helped him ease the pain a bit, for sure. So we'd love to thank you all. Good morning, Sasmirth. We hope you are doing well. Chris Balga, hello. Look at
Oh,
this
Chris, what
fantastic
up?
four of comic book aficionados to give us
Oh.
knowledge, separate us from money, and spreader of hot takes. Much
It's
love
funny,
to Omar and his family.
It's funny you mentioned that because I do have a friend in town who he's still a patron of the channel, but he said he had to stop watching because he would see all these comics in the background on people's shelves and go, "Crap, I have to buy those," and it was costing him too much money to watch the channel.
Yeah.
Send him my way. I'll separate him from his money. No, you look at some of Kurtis's shelves right now, and there's
I know,
some
right?
expensive collections right there.
Well, part of it is I'm fortunate to work for a book publisher that publishes expensive books, so I get the comps, which is nice.
Yeah, good.
That's
And the other is
key.
that I mean, you've got so many Omnis behind you as well, and those aren't cheap either. It's like that, and it builds up after many, many years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have and the one signal that we are true collectors is that we have plenty of floor stacks, right, Curtis?
Oh man, do I ever.
I think all of us do.
I've got 2 massive floor stacks of just duplicate Epic collections.
I have occasionally seen geeks like that. It's like not just those rooms, but like their house is kind of peppered with little stacks of comics that need to go somewhere. It's like the house has comics measles or something like that. Yeah, I'm much more I'm much more restrained and disciplined in my comic purchases than I think some, but which helps. But yeah, I've seen it before.
Upper management would never allow any floor stacks above this level. I have this level, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm here too. I've got my little corner, and it has to be contained.
Yeah,
It's up to that point. Like my mom went in my room like the day after we got back from our vacation in Florida, saw all the
you
Omnis.
screamed, "Mom, stay out of my room."
No, like she saw that.
Mom.
Oh, got a full stack of trade paperbacks, like right behind my Piplup the Penguin Pokemon is a big stack of trade paperbacks, and it was just like, yeah, she even said, hey, if you need a bookcase, let's go to IKEA and roll. So
Nice.
Silo Animator, thank you for the super chats. I think DC needs to put out an omnibus for Smallville season 11 in 25 or 26 for the show's 25th anniversary. The TPBs are out of print.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
It's actually not a bad idea now that I think about it.
Dom, forgive me. Do we have much of an agenda today, or is it just?
Oh, we're just going to answer whatever questions.
Elegant blather. All right, we will blather as elegantly as we can.
I agree.
Well, we've talked about this before, but I was kind of curious. Jess, roughly how many graphic novels do you think you own? Or do you not know?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I can tell you what percentage I've read. About 20%.
20%.
Yeah, and that's constantly reading every day. I never make it past 20%. I'm really trying, but I can't.
I will say I have read every graphic novel I own. What's it like owning that many that you haven't read?
It's all I've known, Lars. It's all I've known.
He's always been like that. Wow.
It doesn't help when I get Justice League Dark Rebirth and it's 1,500 pages.
1,584 pages, Jeff.
I stand corrected. Yeah.
No, it's a lot.
The last 84 are hard to get through.
Yeah. Curtis, I think you know how many you own, don't you? How many do you have?
I haven't cataloged it, but it's got to be a few thousand, I think.
Okay.
Same. I'm sure
I have there's 400 Epic collections just on their own, and that's just Epic collections. And then there's another there's got to be another 300 of these large comic strip collections, Library of American Comics, and then I don't know, it's just lots. Yeah.
And what percentage would you say?
Oh, I'm probably in the 20% club as well.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm reading all the time. But
What?
yeah.
Oh
What,
my
now,
God.
Lars? You wouldn't go into somebody else's house that owns prose novels and has a big library of prose novels and just immediately say, "Now, how many of these have you read, future father-in-law?"
No, I understand. Here's the thing. I just don't buy things I'm not planning. I don't buy that much stuff I'm not planning to read.
Oh, I
And
plan to
Well,
read
hey,
all
I'm planning to read all of it. I'm planning on it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
There's nothing in here that I'm buying that book. I'm never going to read that one, but I'm going to get
Yeah,
it in
no,
here.
it's
oh
not.
no,
for
and okay, you get some comps. I understand that you're just okay. I've got this comp. That's great. But can you get to all of them before death?
No.
No, but that doesn't really matter.
No,
As long as
no. Gentlemen, none of this is to criticize. I promise you. I'm not
Sure?
criticizing.
Sounds like veiled criticism to me.
I'm not criticizing in any degree. I just find it strange. I have about 550, and which makes me remarkably small compared to all of you. But I've read all of them. I've read all.
That's what you said.
Wow,
because
what a flex!
I
What
only-
a flex on Saturday
You're
morning.
a better man than we are.
well,
Trying to prove it.
I think partly it's because just experience. When I was growing up, I didn't have much money for comics. I had to be very disciplined, and so I could buy X number of series a month. And if a series stopped pleasing me, it had to go away so I could plug in another series I liked because I was never able to buy more than I wanted badly. And I was having to, hide comics. I mean, I was that sad geek who parents didn't approve and so on. So I'm hiding them in grandma's garage and things like that. And I've always had to be disciplined on it. And then, eventually one gets married and shares space with someone. And I just want to be restrained and not spend huge amounts of money and space on something I'm not actively engaged with.
So he's readable and responsible. Interesting.
I try.
Okay,
Well, no, and again,
fair
I had
enough.
the discussion with my wife. So there are also hoarders in my family. So I'm mindful of dying and leaving too much stuff behind, and then people are cursing your name because you left it. And I said to my wife one time, I'm like, I'm going to live to be 152, honey, but if I kick it, what is this too much stuff for you? And she's like, no. She says, I would just get one of your nerdy friends in here to inventory it all and sell it off. I'm like, well, that's fine.
Your nerdy friends.
Yeah. How many do you have?
I want to say around at least like a couple hundred. I've read most of them.
Okay.
I still have yet to finish this part or the second half of this nice hardcover that came in.
Okay.
Overview of it comes out tomorrow on this channel. So
Okay.
well, there you go. Okay, I got a question or actually two things for Kurtis. Kurtis, I packed your information to SD San Diego Comic-Con for your work in helping to put out and complete the For Better or For Worse collections, circa 30 or 42. And Sazmarov has a question. Always wanted to ask Kurtis, as much as you love epics, do you dread shelving them because it means having to adjust your entire collection?
Oh man, yeah, that has become an enjoyable pain. I actually do like rearranging, but yeah, if I have to get an X-Men, if I have like a Spider-Man, and then I have to shuffle all of the rows down to make room for that one book, then yes, it is a little bit of a problem. So, I have that weekly ritual of shifting all the epic collections around, and I'm at the point. It's like now that I have to put another epic collection on the shelf, something else has to go to a different shelf because they're just packed. So something has to move around.
We should write a memoir called The Agony of the Geek.
Oh man, it's just like it sounds stupid because it's all these dumb first world problems, right? And it's like, oh man, I have to shuffle around my 400 epic collections. It sounds just terrible.
Completely understandable. Lars, here's a question for you. Is there any possibility of Wizard ever reprinting magazines of the past? Is there a market for it, or would there be too much red tape for it?
Yeah, great question. I mean, who knows what the right situation is these days? What basically happened was Wizard, the publishing company, got cannibalized, and some assets were transferred to the convention company, and then the convention company eventually they sold off things to Fan Expo, was it? So Fan Expo gobbled it in. So at this point, who the hell owns the copyrights to Wizard magazine? I don't know. It's probably swirling around in the mix somewhere. Is there an there could be a market for some of it, like the drawing board material is kind of timeless, and there's certain things in there that are kind of timeless. There was a lot that was very timely. So yeah, I suspect the rights has been just smothered in buyout after buyout after, and God knows where it is. And the people who probably have it aren't publishing magazines these days. They're busy running conventions or whatever. That's my best guess.
Okay.
That's what people in the know have kind of whispered to me. So yeah.
Okay. Good stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you would think that the Wizard name would still be worth doing something new. I mean, even just beyond repackaging all stuff. There was a very fleeting effort about 4 or 5 years ago. I did get an email. I was talking with someone who was involved in the convention side and talking about starting up a Wizard type thing again, and it died within like 6 weeks or something like that.
Oh,
So yeah,
I
or they never did, and it never really launched. It never really got anywhere. So yeah.
First Geomancer asks, well, thank you for the super chat. All-time favorite horror movie from all of us.
Oh, good question.
Man, I watched one last night that I'm going to talk about tomorrow on my show that messed me up, like badly.
Worse than you already are.
Way worse. Way worse. And I went upstairs and my wife was like, why do you do this to yourself? And I'm like, I don't know, but the movie did its job. I am genuinely disturbed. It was Barbarian, and I had been hearing about it forever, but I knew nothing about it because apparently that's the best way to go into it. Holy smoke, was it disturbing. It's not my favorite. My favorite is The Blackcoat's Daughter. I think that had that was a kind of a possession movie with an amazing twist in it. That's what I think that's probably one of my favorites, The Blackcoat's Daughter. But Barbarian just I'm going to talk about it with Jessica tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. OmniDog's Vault. Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, it was disturbing.
All right.
So I was watching I watched The Sixth Sense with my son last night.
Oh.
He hadn't seen it, and it was pretty. I've seen it before, and I love it. And he asked me what is my favorite horror movie, and I didn't have an exact answer. I don't know if one stands out as like number one, but a bunch that came to my mind that are at the top of my list are The Thing, Alien, were those the only two that came to my mind? The Fly. I really like The Fly.
The Inhumans on ABC.
That's right.
Yes, that's
right.
the most horrific of them all.
That was very horrifying, but for different reasons.
Yeah.
What about you, Lars?
Oh, Dom, you go ahead and stall for me.
I feel like I haven't watched enough horror movies, but I think that's just mainly because I grew up with a vanilla childhood. Speaking back on it, probably The Descent. I think.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I feel like, but again, I haven't watched many, but that's the one I definitely remember because I was spooked to heck. I watched it in the living room back a couple of years ago.
I was trying to
There's a great graphic novel called Sunlight, which is similar to The Descent. It's a European graphic novel, French, which has been brought over to English by Clover Press, by the way. But it's about the same kind of thing as The Descent, and it's really good. I quite enjoy it.
I was mentally running through, like, for me, the biggest testament would be what horror movies do I own? Because Halloween is quite great. I do really enjoy Halloween. I quite enjoy Scream. I mean, every single time there's a new Scream movie, I will absolutely be there. I am one of those people who, like, I was kind of in a rut on horror movies, and then Scream came out, and I was in theaters going, "Oh, this is quite good." But I think the only one I own is some of the Alien movies. So I guess I'm just stereotypical sci-fi geek there.
Yeah, that's okay.
Although I am a bit unusual in that, honestly, I mean, because the original is the original and Aliens is Aliens. I'm in the minority that I really like Prometheus and Covenant. I think they do some really interesting things. That seems to be a minority opinion. They don't seem to have a good. It's very interesting. Fandom is a lot more conservative than we like to think, because I thought Prometheus and Covenant were quite bold and trying to do interesting things, and they don't seem to have gone over as well. Meanwhile, the recent one, Romulus, which is great. I mean, I wound up going twice. Saw Romulus twice, enjoyed it. It's pretty much the first movie all over again, and everyone loves it. Everyone's like, "Oh, good. There's no surprises. I am totally into this." So yeah, no, it was very enjoyable, but let's not pretend it was pushing the envelope very much.
Okay.
I think that was the point, though. They wanted to get it back to kind of the original concepts.
No, that's it. And to be slightly fair, I mean, there's a lot of people that when they go to an Alien movie, they want to see what they're expecting from an Alien movie. They want it to meet their expectations. So I get that impulse. I prefer being surprised. I prefer being surprised and it going in, different places. That pleases me. It doesn't please a lot of everybody. Kurtis, are you in agreement? Do you like Prometheus and Covenant too?
I do really like those ones. I especially Prometheus, I wasn't expecting at all. I had no idea what to expect, and I was like, wow, this is really cool, really expanding the mythology, introducing new concepts and stuff. And it's not my favorite of the franchise for sure, but I didn't hate it, not at all.
Yeah. Some friends of mine went to, because I think a lot of people mentally skipped over Alien versus Predator. So when Prometheus came out, there hadn't been an alien, quote, alien movie in quite a while. And so friends of mine went, and someone came back and went, "Oh, I'm disappointed. I was expecting so much from I was expecting more from Ridley Scott." And I'm like, "Well, what more were you expecting?" Well, they don't know. They can't explain to me what more they wanted, but they wanted more. I'm like, okay. But yeah, Romulus was good, but Romulus is much more what you'd expect.
Now, remind me, I seem to recall when that movie came out, we didn't know it was actually part of the Alien franchise. Is that right?
They kind of sort of tried to have it both ways. I mean, because I think when Covenant came out, it was called Alien Covenant.
But Prometheus was just called Prometheus, and it was Ridley Scott, but it was like in the style they made from what I remember, I went to see it just because it looked awesome, and then I was like, "Oh, this is part of the Alien franchise."
It was marketed in this odd middle. It was, here's this new movie from Ridley Scott, Prometheus. You'll like it, and I did know before I went, but it took a while to twig. That's like, oh, wait a minute, this is not only is this an Alien movie, it's a prequel. They were very odd about that. I don't know if that was a good idea or a bad idea. Maybe rolling off Alien versus Predator, Alien's reputation was a bit in the dumper, and they were skittish about it. I don't know.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I wasn't just paying attention or what, but yeah,
you're good. Newsboy, this is the size of same trim size as an omnibus. It's just an Image Deluxe hardcover. I know that people were wondering because the Amazon dimensions are incorrect, but I think the editor of the series, someone asked about him on the Radiant Black Discord server, and he said that the dimensions were wrong. It would be the same size as an Image Deluxe. So Radiant Black Year One is indeed an Image Deluxe.
You read that? You said you're are you reading it now or have you finished it?
I am rereading the second half or the second arc of the book.
Is it good?
Oh, I love it.
I don't want to spoil
it's a very good personal story that I think Kyle Higgins has just had in the back of his mind. Finally was able to put it out and say, "Hey, this is pretty good." So
does it connect to any other universe, or is it
its own? I think it was pretty much just I always say like it's pretty much an excuse for Kyle Higgins and all of his Power Rangers friends to create Power Rangers for Image, but have it owned by them. But it's very different from Power Rangers, with the exception of these guys also wear cool suits, just like the Power Rangers. So yeah, there you go. Let me see if I can. Oh, thank you for the super chat, John X. Who has the better villains overall, Marvel or DC?
Washington, D.C.
Yes. 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 Our nation's capital does have the very best supervillains. You're right.
Yep.
He's not wrong.
Most of them in plain sight, but not all of them. Yeah. Who has the better villain?
I'm a Marvel fan, and I'm just going to say Marvel for sure.
Okay, there we
I
go.
like them far better. I mean, there are a few standouts for DC that Joker and all of them, but I think overall I could name off way more Marvel villains that I think are great.
Yeah. Jess, what do you think?
I grew up with DC, so I mean I'm familiar with a lot of Marvel villains, but I'm sort of the mirror image of Kurtis in that I am more familiar with DC ones. So
okay, good. We have one vote for each, and I'll split the middle because I always feel like I'm wimping out because I do find questions like this slightly odd. A lot of times the teenagers in my life come to me and they go, hey, which is better, Marvel or DC? And I go, both have value. And they go, well, yeah, but which is better? I'm like, both have value. I'm like, that's the only honest answer I can give you. Now, of course, then they often follow it up with, well, who has the better movies? Like, well, Marvel, clearly. Just because let's not fool ourselves. But no, who has the better villains? Both have value. Both have value, but I do have a special fondness for the Batman ones. Just because
well, the Batman Rogues Gallery is unmatched for sure.
Yeah, I think so. They are a standout.
I agree.
But who has better villains overall? Both have value, or the two companies would not have endured this long. Clearly.
Who are these people in the chat that don't want me to be in charge of this chat? Well, why am I the villain of this chat, of this show? I hope Jess isn't in charge of the chat. I hope Jess isn't in charge of the chat.
They're taking your card that says demagogue seriously here.
You know what? Just to steal Jess's answer, I'm going to say yes. Washington, D.C. has the best villain overall.
Yeah,
there we go.
I like that answer.
Can't argue with that one.
I can't at
And
all.
unfortunately, those are real life ones.
But if you guys want to check out where to find these villains, not the Washington, D.C. ones, but the Marvel ones as well as the DC ones, you can obviously find them on Mr. BD Cosmos, Mrs. B, whatever. BD Cosmos, the Canadian leader in graphic novels. They have a physical storefront in Montreal, Quebec, and their website, bdcosmos.com, offers 25% off your orders of $99 or more and free shipping everywhere in Canada for every order at $200 or more. The shipping care is exceptional, and your books will stay cozy, and you don't have to wink, whatever, you couldn't do it. Anyways, after the checkout, let them know that Nearmint sent you, and you will be added to the monthly $25 gift card raffle, which entries are valid for new and returning customers. Don't be afraid to call, ask them questions. Their staff is awesome, and they will respond in due time, and it is exceptional. BD Cosmos, the Canadian leader for customers and care in Canada, with a dingle.
Nicely done.
There's no such thing as bad publicity. There's no such thing as bad publicity. No,
There's none.
That was awesome.
Omar pays me too much to do the jingles, so let me see if I can go back to and figure out. Oh, here you go, Kurtis. After DC Finest, you'll be able to name all the DC villains.
Yeah,
that is my hope. I'm looking forward to that.
That's an exciting line, I think.
I agree.
Yeah,
saw some of the previews for the books yesterday. I think both of us saw yesterday, Kurtis, and they look pretty good, I will say.
Yeah,
design of them looks pretty spiffy. And here you go. Question for the panel: what are some of your irrational comics related pet peeves? I personally can't stand it when people write Spider-Man without the hyphen. Hey, that's a Rob Liefeld complaint. He has gone on public on Twitter multiple times calling people out for not using the hyphen.
yeah.
Stan Lee
I agreed
all the time.
Well, and it's like the name is everywhere. If you're reading the book, surely you can see that. It's like when someone has an email, writes me an email, and they spell my name with a C, and it's like my name is in the email. Like you just read it.
It's a good one.
Rational comics related pet peeves. I have an irrational bone to pick with McFarlane Toys that their face sculpts aren't very good compared to Hasbro's for Marvel Legends. I don't know if that's irrational, though. I just don't like to buy McFarlane action figures because their face sculpts are just not good. I can't think of anything weird like I don't know. Not enough Harley Quinn. That's it. Not Harley Quinn should be in every issue of every comic.
I've got one that I did a TikTok about this. I don't like it when artists stretch Mr. Fantastic's neck because it was defined just because the way that that Jack Kirby always drew Mr. Fantastic is that he would stretch. If his upper body stretched, it would stretch at the torso and go up. He would never stretch his neck like Plastic Man, and except for in the very, very first Fantastic Four #1, because I think he was still feeling out the character. But after that, never stretch the neck. And because as soon as you stretch the neck, Mr. Fantastic becomes a funny character. And he is not a funny character. He is a serious intellectual character, and Jack Kirby always kept him in character in that way. Other artists after that, if they ever stretched his neck, it was to do something funny with Mr. Fantastic or whatever, or make him look funny. And he's not Plastic Man. He's Mr. Fantastic.
I congratulate you, Kurtis. That does seem quite irrational.
Yeah, I knew that was going to happen.
I'm struggling to think of one here that would qualify as irrational, because all of my peeves are, of course, absolutely completely rational unto death.
I believe it.
Yes, the one that does, although I think this is a rational complaint, bothers the heck out of me and has bothered the heck out of me lately, is in it started like about, I don't even know, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, and it's still going on. When some writers and artists, you have a double page spread. Excuse me. You have 2 pages in a comic book. And the habit is always you start at top left, you read down the left page, then you read down the right page, unless you are otherwise telegraphed to change that pattern. And there has been a habit. Bendis does it certainly. And some other writer, who was I reading recently? There was some readers that and they'll give you a double page spread that is horizontal. But there is no indicator you are supposed to read it horizontally. None. And so I get confused because I'm reading down the left-hand page, and then the narrative starts not making any sense. Or I jump to the next page. I'm like, wait, this narrative makes no sense.
Oh, it's not a single splash. It's like
no. If they would do a splash or make the panels uneven,
okay,
so to kind of lead your eye, like, hey, you need to keep going this way. That's fine. But you're supposed to read horizontally. There is no clue that you're supposed to read horizontally. The narrative gets chronically screwed up. And when they do this a lot, which means in the course of reading a comic, you can get narratively off 5, 6, 7 times. And I'll even go back and look, how the hell was I supposed to know to read it horizontally? There's no clue whatsoever. If you want me to read horizontally, you have to telegraph, buddy, read horizontally. And it's just pure agony. But I think that's a rational complaint.
I think that's rational. That bothers me too.
Kurtis, do you?
Well, no, I completely agree. And I think, who was I reading that did that a lot? It might have been, oh man, I can't remember now. Alex Malev in Bendis's Daredevil, I think, did that a lot. And that's partly a Bendis thing, because Bendis plans out all of his panels.
He does.
And then they'll go all like a row across here, and then a row across here, and then a row across here. But then I'm instantly just reading like it as a 9-panel block, and then another 9-panel block. But no, you're supposed to go ahead, and that's an editing thing. I think a lot of the times as well is like maybe you need to have a word balloon that has a tail that stretches over the gutter,
something,
or one panel that stretches over the but
Yeah, because I was reading a Sandman Mystery Theater that did this right, because they open and you flip the page and it's a double page spread, but like as you say, there's one great big horizontal scene at the top, like they're at some charity ball or some New York social event, and the title on that big panel says, "Hey, you should read this horizontally." Good, I've got that. But when there's no clue, these are working professionals who are just constantly getting the reader off track. It's like, don't you understand how people read comics? I don't know. It just, but because again, if it was just one instance, then fine. But they do it a lot. Some people do it a
Well,
lot.
James found the video.
Thank you, James.
Oh, your
Hardest
motion.
working man in
James,
comics.
you're the best.
You are the best.
Wow, James is unbelievable.
Completely
Wow.
unbelievable.
Stretching
off.
Reed Richards. At first, I thought he made it up, and I'm like, no, wait, that's the TikTok that he came up with. Wow.
Yeah, here's a question for you guys. We had an announcement at New York Comic Con that DC Vertigo was going to come back into the fold, and it's going to be splitting time with the mature line of DC along with DC Black Label. DC Black Label will continue to put out the DC character mature stories, while DC Vertigo is going to be your classic, hey, these creators own these stories like the Invisibles, etc. So what do you guys think about the DC or the return of Vertigo and any chances that it could work out this time?
Work out this time. It worked out last time too.
Well,
Yeah, it
yeah,
did.
I mean, if that's a didn't work out, I mean, we should all be so fortunate as to not work out. But I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
I think that any chance for creators to bring their own creator-owned content and vision to comics is an excellent thing. Absolutely. I don't think that DC needs to be pigeonholed into just doing superhero stuff. In fact, I welcome any chance that they're, as long as they're playing fair with the creators, I welcome any chance for any publisher to do that.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't just like keep Vertigo the first time. I never really understood the Black Label thing, especially like I remember there was a set time from like 2019 to 2021 when they just slapped the Black Label like logo onto books like All-Star Superman and like Hush trade paperbacks. When I was like, I don't remember All-Star Superman being mature readers only or creator whatever only, but you know what? Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe they're using it as like
they got very confused on whether Black Label was for Elseworld stories or mature readers. And I swear this is because they thought Black Label is the perfect home for Watchmen. And Watchmen is both mature readers. And I mean, it's an alternate, it's not a main DC thing. Unfortunately, they got confused there. And as you say, mature stuff was there, but All-Star Superman was also there, which is insane. Yeah, they couldn't decide. Jess, I'm about to start frothing at the mouth. Do you have anything to say on this?
What was the question?
Vertigo and your thoughts that it's returning.
I'm with Kurtis that and Lars that it worked out great the first time. I was very confused why they let it go. It was an established brand that you knew what you were getting when you bought a Vertigo book. Even if it was like a Vertigo Superman book or whatever it was, but you knew what you were getting. And I thought that was a really weird editorial or publisher decision to let go of something that popular, and recognizable. So I don't think
it was as popular as they wanted it to be.
Creator-owned
comics are not going to sell the numbers that Batman is selling.
Okay.
With the exception of a couple, which is why they hung on to like Fables or whatever, but they got rid of the rest of them because they didn't meet their sales thresholds. And whereas it would be fine, those numbers would be great for Boom and they would be great for Image, but they're not great for DC.
So did Vertigo was Vertigo always a creator-owned thing within DC?
No, no,
I didn't.
Not at first. So I wrote a breathtaking article about this for Sci-Fi Bulletin. There's basically phases of Vertigo, and the first phase was really just collect together our weird, wackadoodle stuff like Doom Patrol and Sandman and Shade the Changing Man and all that. Some of these things were going anyway because Animal Man and Sandman, they start out, they're not part of Vertigo, and then Vertigo is kind of the collection of, well, here's this, we're going to bring it all under one house, which made a lot of sense. And then the creator-owned stuff starts coming in. And then over time, they decided that the superhero stuff should be given back to DC, which is why like Hellblazer, which was a fixture of Vertigo for so long, they decide, oh, well, we're going to give him back to DC and it's going to be Constantine and things like that. So Vertigo, but the time that they shut down Vertigo, it sort of made sense that they did it, because a lot of the tentpole titles had been given back to DC, right? You no longer have like Doom Patrol and all the rest. And the creator-owned stuff was crashing and burning. I mean, we forget how easy we forget the last relaunch they did for Vertigo. It crashed and burned. I think there was just a sense of this has run its course. The other problem became that some higher, I can't remember his name. It was in my article. Some higher up at Vertigo, Warner Brothers came in and was asking about the Vertigo titles and things like that, because the real money in all of this is in movies and TV. That's where the real money lies. I mean, comics are great. They make money, but the real fortunes to be made are movie and TV. And this guy came in, he was asking about all these titles, and they're like, he's like, why aren't we making movies and TV shows of these titles? And they're like, well, we don't own the rights to them. And he asked, why the hell are we publishing and promoting comic series for some competitor to come in and get the rights to that? And they're making tons of money off movies and TV, and we are left with the piddling income off these comics. And the thing is, it's easy to demonize him, but he's not wrong.
He's not wrong. That's interesting.
He's not wrong at all. And so, yeah, because I could be wrong about this, but I think like Preacher, for example, is a pretty good idea. I don't think Warner Brothers did the Preacher TV show. So you've got a scenario where they're building up these properties and then other people are making tons of money off them. And they're like, why the hell are we doing this? I'd be very interested. First of all, I'm thrilled Vertigo's back. Vertigo, I think, serves a purpose in publishing that sort of Black Label doesn't. And you want to look at the contracts, because you're like, okay, how are they working this then? Because are they also clamping down I would be shocked if stuff was published under Vertigo and Warner Brothers wasn't locking down the movie and TV rights for a certain amount of time at the very least, which I'm okay with if the creators are getting paid. Because stuff gets optioned all the time. Some of it gets made, some of it doesn't. As long as the creators are getting paid, then that's fine. But I think that's Warner Brothers' concern, is like, are we just feeding the fire for our competitors?
Okay, well, this is why I didn't have anything to say, because you obviously know a hell of a lot more than I do.
I got to read that article at some point.
That was really interesting. I had no idea about any of that.
But can we agree that, like, I mean, for me, Vertigo kind of saved the 90s. I mean, not that other good stuff is nice. It is. But a lot of the superhero stuff wasn't firing on all pistons for me. And there was Vertigo. And Vertigo was just persistently very interesting. But by the time they shut it down, Vertigo was not what it was. I mean, it just wasn't. This might be a good strategy. It's like, this isn't working. Let's shut it down. Let's give it a rest. And then we can bring it back when people are kind of hungry for it. It's like, yeah, that's a good idea.
But yeah, Rodimus answered the question in the chat. Yeah, Black Label will be the superhero.
Okay. All right.
The superhero parts, like if you want to see a mature Batman or Wonder Woman or Superman or whatever story, that they're still going to do stuff on that front. And Vertigo will be your creator owned. Now, the thing is, these two imprints, along with the Absolute Universe imprint, all have the same editor. Chris Conroy, who has been in charge of Black Label for the last 2-ish years now, or 3, gosh. And he's also, again, doing the Absolute Universe, so he's in charge of the Absolute Batman,
he's in charge of
Wonder Woman, and it's expanding. Now it's not immune for this for DC, because they currently only do have 2 editorial offices for the Batman related characters and then the Superman Justice League related characters. So they are very much running a small ship with people at the helm, but they talk a lot, they coordinate a lot. From all of the creators that I've interviewed, I was lucky and able to understand a bit of how they work, and they are a very, very well functioning ship. We will have to see, obviously. I know that some people are very apprehensive on that front because Karen Berger is no longer at Vertigo, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Well, I think Black Label books the past 3 years have been, especially those oversized ones like Catwoman Lonely City and Suicide Squad Blaze, those have been some of the best things DC's put out.
They've gotten a lot better. They really have. You're right. Yeah.
They have.
Those have been great.
They have 2 lines. They do have like a kids only line. I don't remember. Actually.
Oh, is that like the young adult digest size stuff? They do have a
Um,
kids line. There's like digest size, then there's young adult that's a little bit bigger than digest size, but it's still smaller than a paperback, trade paperback. So I think it's the children's line is the really smaller stuff.
Yeah, the small stuff. They don't have a name for it, but they do mark it in that like, oh, it's only for,
They
or
say
it's meant
kids
for like
on
all
it, I
ages.
think.
Yeah. Yeah, DC. They have DC.
They're not
Kids.
part of the. They're not part
DC
of the regular DC
Correct.
continuity
Correct.
too, right?
Correct.
They like
Right.
change the ages and
Mhm.
put them all in high school or whatever, and that kind of thing.
Yeah. And yes, Chanasuka's right. It used to be called DC. Used to be called the kids line used to be called DC Zoom, and then the young adult line used to be called DC Inc. And then they just switched it to DC Kids, and then DC Young Adult called it a day. I have a couple of questions saved up for the peeps. What 80s or 90s title that has never had an omnibus or any of these big sorts would you like to see collected? I'd like to see Guy Gardner Warrior, The Ray, that's a good one. Starman, Thunderstrike, Superboy, Steel, and Death's Head.
Well, up until recently, the answer would be ROM. Generation X. I'm a big Generation X fan. That one needs an omnibus, even though I probably won't buy it.
Because you already have it in Epics,
Already have
right?
Epic.
Those are great
Yeah.
Epics, by the way.
Let's see. You know what?
Did it
I'm
specify
trying-
Marvel or DC? Or just
It doesn't
80s and 90s
specify.
comic?
Yeah, it's just 80s,
Oh.
80s, 90s. Yeah, that's a good one.
Lars, you're muted. You're muted, Lars.
Sorry.
Go back
He's
to
like-
the
It's the state that people prefer for me. No, Legion of Superheroes, obviously.
Oh,
Legion of
Thank-
Superheroes.
course.
That there is still, especially an expanse from the 80s, what we call the Baxter series, by Paul Levitz, Keith Giffen, Steve Lytle, a whole bunch of others. And like, it's one of the most influential and renowned Legion of Superheroes runs ever, insofar as Legion is influential. It's one of the lesser titles. But yes, it's a bit shocking that hasn't been collected. They basically collected everything before that point, and they've collected 5 years later. But here's this massive expanse of wonderful Legion stories, that popular Legion stories that I would think would sell for them. That's top of my list. That's absolutely top of my list.
Okay.
80s Legion of Superheroes. Yeah.
How about you, Jess?
I agree with Lars.
Okay, we'll just get on that.
I took the 90s off anyway, so
Fair enough. Dom and panel.
the,
If DC does a second or third volume of Superman Triangle Era, should volume
Yeah.
2 be pre-death and then volume 3 be post-death? What do you guys think? If you have any thoughts on that.
I don't have any strong feelings on the mapping for that.
I don't know.
Really.
I don't really
Yeah.
either.
I'd have to turn that over to the people. Yeah.
Well, fair
I
enough.
would say if they can figure out a way to line it up with the pre-existing Death of Superman Omni so that
Mhm.
people don't have to double dip, that would be
Mm.
nice.
that's good.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And here is one that I got a hold of, and you guys can also answer too. Thoughts on the upcoming Aquaman Omni by Peter Allen David? Was it a good run for people who don't read a ton of Aquaman? Now, I will say, as someone who has read the run, I think Lars, you're jumping. I know you're jumping at the
Yeah,
bit
I am.
for this question. I'm not. I have read a lot of Aquaman. There's the fandom in me. I was talking about this with Kurtis yesterday on our DC Finest stream, where I said, like, hey, Aquaman for me has always been the idiot who talks to fish. That is just culture osmosis that has enveloped my sense of thought as a fan. That being said, Aquaman by Peter David is extremely fun. The hook hand obviously is what people talk about. I am actually going to urge you on to read it because Patrick Gleason, who is my favorite artist of all time, got his start in comics on Peter David Aquaman. His art isn't as strong as it is now. Obviously, he's still very much in the infant stages of him and his art in the industry. But I would suggest, if you like him, if you liked what you saw in Green Lantern Corps, Batman and Robin, and Superman, I would say pick up that just for the Patrick Gleason love. Anyways, Floor, go ahead.
Well, I was going to, yeah, it absolutely is accessible, and I will tell you why. I do not care about Aquaman, and I love this run. I mean, I will buy this run. I have been waiting for it to come out. It's not just Peter Davis writing. I mean, Jim Calafiore, his art is on this is sensational. It is a great run, and I do not care about Aquaman, and I don't care about any other. I mean, like I read some of the Silver Age stuff, and there actually is some good stuff from the Silver Age, but I don't own any other Aquaman. I don't care about any other Aquaman. I probably will never buy any other Aquaman. But this run, big seal of approval. Big seal of approval.
Yeah, same here.
And for me, this is my, and again, we need to do a panel one time on completism versus non-completism. This is where my non-completist kicks in. This is one of my top 10 favorite comic runs, probably.
Well, I don't know how you could be a completist on Aquaman. This is only going to be the second Omni out with him, and there's hardly any trades out.
Granted, but like I will buy it because I'm into the story that Peter David was telling, the approach, the tone, the art, the everything, and I love it. And I love it. And I any other Aquaman, not interested.
It truly is great stuff. Like I think we've been blessed to have so many good Aquaman runs over the past 30, even 60 years. I think not enough appreciation goes out for these stories again because of culture osmosis and because of what we as fans, I guess, I don't know, just think of like,
Jason Momoa films have changed the equation there.
They have.
The first one made $1 billion, and I don't think he was treated like much of a joke in that.
One third of that was from China, though, to be fair.
Well, yes, quite. Yes.
But yeah.
Do those not count?
I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just saying. But yeah, like
it was from everywhere else.
Well, and look, so that was also coming out when I was at Wizard, and I was occasionally asked to call Peter and talk to Peter about it. And Peter, Blue Devil Omnibus, Peter at the time said that one of his, at the time in the 90s, Aquaman was a joke. I mean, period. The end. He was a punchline, and he said one of his goals was to get Aquaman some respect. But to get Aquaman respect, you're going to have to, do it a certain way. So that's when the whole piranhas ate his hand off comes in and things like that. So.
100%. But yeah, also, I guess to add on to this, or what Jess said, we still don't have Jeff Parker in a deluxe hardcover. I would love to see that collected. I'd love to see the Abnett run collected, and I would love to see the Kelly Sue DeConnick run collected. We've had really good, strong Aquaman runs in the past. Yeah. Last
starting with New 52, it's been really good all the way through.
Yeah. Someone mentioned the Blue Devil collection. I was reading Blue Devil in the 80s, and I thought it was quite funny. It may not have aged well. I don't know, but I would certainly be tempted to check that out. Someone was asking about a Firestorm. Firestorm from the 80s. I wondered if Firestorm from the 80s would be great fodder for DC's finest.
Yeah,
because
would be.
Absolutely.
100%.
They have always been really emaciated on their Firestorm releases, but DC's finest, it seems, is being a bit character driven. They're like, hey, here's a Peacemaker one, here's a Metamorpho one, so I wonder what point they're going to do. Here's a Firestorm one, and they're going to have to quickly start collecting that 80s series because what else is there except for the
exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of Firestorm and Aquaman, you can get both of those characters at our EU sponsor, and if you live in the EU, at Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices for Marvel and DC books within the EU, with a flat shipping rate of €12 for all European Union countries, along with bulletproof packaging. All emails will be answered in 24 hours, and they also offer a great collection of titles, out-of-print books. Please just head over to Walt's Comic Shop for more great deals if, again, you are in the EU. An exclusive fee for our viewers, if you use the code Nearman Condition at checkout, as well as get free shipping for all you will get free EU shipping for all EU countries within your first order of €40. Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source of omnis and collected editions in Europe. Ding, 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 ding.
Wow, that was pretty good.
That was epic.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I love presenting advertisements.
Do one for my show tomorrow night.
Do you?
Okay. I'll record a video for you.
Or
For
great
sure.
do you feel
Awesome.
a great kinship with Mad Men? Do you want to be a madman?
Yes, that would
Okay.
actually be that would be fun.
Yeah.
Do you all think the DC Finest line will sell as well as the Marvel Epics? I hope so.
Wow, what a question, Curtis.
Even better.
This is your wheelhouse. You go first.
Go ahead, Curtis. You have the floor.
I think that yes, I do think so, and I think a lot of that is because we have already built up a really established fan base of collectors who like this kind of collection with the Epic collections, and a lot of them are going to jump over. I think so. I think initial sales, especially, will be stronger than Marvel's initial sales because Marvel was kind of testing an unknown thing at the time, but now it's proven.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think it'll do fine.
I think I think the nice thing that you've done, Curtis, is help collect a lot or find a lot of these people, right? We got the Facebook group. Like there are a lot of people out there, I think, who are definitely very much going to be along the lines of sort of, yeah, we will be buying most, if not all of these titles. And I know that for some, like, again, like the appeal of a Batman Year 1 and Year 2, a lot of that post-crisis material, which hasn't been fully rendered and fully collected, the ability of just even putting that out there is not only nice, it gives people an opportunity in a sense of, hey, these are books that are appealing, but we're also pushing in and putting in stuff that people might not be able to find easily otherwise. So I think in that case, along with the designs and I guess the first look of how some, early pictures, they look great. They're gonna look great on the shelf. And I really do hope DC succeeds in this because if it's true and we got the original coloring and everything else, I think it's gonna be great for new and old time readers getting these books to be able to read them, collect them, and love them just as much, if not more, than Marvel Epics.
I have a feeling that that's the only way I'm going to see any early Bronze Age Batman in my lifetime, because at the rate they're going with the Omnis, we're not going to see that 1970 Batman stuff for 20 years. So I hope I don't mind at all having a DC Finest. I don't have non-matching spine disorder, so I have no problem sticking DC Finest next to my Omnis or something. So if I can just get that original Batman and not original, but the early Bronze Age Batman and Superman was really, really good, and I am just not going to see that in omnibus format. So I'm hoping that DC Finest is the place where I can find it with, as you said, the original coloring and inking.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it will be because they're already talking about how these are going to be unbroken runs of these titles. So they will come. The question is that there's like what 80 years of Batman history, and one of these volumes only collects like a year and a half to 2 years of a title, especially with Batman. If they're combining Batman and Detective Comics into the same line, who knows when those it may not be your lifetime still.
Oh, Curtis, give me some hope. Throw me a bone here, buddy.
But hey,
I mean, I hope so. But I hope that they do focus on stuff that has been uncollected stuff.
Yes.
Like I know a lot of these launch titles have been stuff that's tried and true.
Yeah.
Batman's first two DC Finest, one is called Year 1 and the other is called The Killing Joke. And so they're going for the heavy hitters, the stuff they know will sell, the stuff that they can easily market at the beginning of their of this whole new series. But I hope that yes, they do quickly step into stuff that is not collected so that people like Jess can enjoy a happy last few years of his life.
Oh my God!
Fucking A, I can't believe it! Wow!
Curtis.
That's the worst thing anybody's ever said to me, and it came from you.
Wow! At his time of life, he deserved the comfort and joy not of his children, but of a proper collection of Silver Age metal men. We care nothing for America's veterans.
Oh man!
Wow!
Oh my God!
I did not.
It's my. I try to make it my goal to make everybody laugh, and that seems to be the only way to do it.
Is making fun of my
grim
imminent death.
mortality.
I see. Okay.
Well, I guess this person doesn't want to see it though, Jess. If you dig the Blackcoat's Daughter, sorry, have you watched or plan for watching the Long Legs film during Halloween?
Tomorrow, that is what I'm watching today. So those are the two movies that we're going to talk about tomorrow, Jessica and I, Barbarian and Longlegs. Haven't seen it yet, but thank you for the recommendation. I've heard yeah, too soon.
I'm sorry, Jess.
Dude, I'm still
I
upright
love
and
you.
walking. So yeah, if I live through the day, I'm going to see Longlegs.
All right, good. All right, good.
That's my plan.
Hey, you be brave, man. You be brave.
Thank you.
Okay, quickly, getting back, I didn't to answer the DC Finest question. I think DC Finest will I think we all want it to succeed. We all so badly want it to succeed, and kind of Marvel with the Epic Collections kind of set the precedent, and so it's like when they put out DC Finest, like, okay, we've seen this movie before. We're gonna do, it's the Epic line, but for DC. The only thing that slightly gives me pause and makes me worry is that DC, I think, in some venues has been disadvantaged by just the sheer popularity of some of its catalog versus there are just Marvel zombies, and there are people who are really into Marvel. I do worry slightly that there's just more warm bodies who want to pay money for, let's say, Defenders or Iron Fist or whatever, compared to the people who want to pay warm money for Metamorpho.
Still a warm body here.
No, I know. But you see, I'm just talking raw numbers now, and I'm not rendering a quality. Yeah. I'm not rendering a judgment on the quality of the character. I'm just saying that they've got some stuff in their catalog that I don't know does sell that well. Now that they're putting it out, great. I mean,
to piggyback off what you just said, I hope there's no doubt that Marvel just will completely keep going with epics. Nobody doubts that Marvel's going to stop doing epics, but DC has a history of bailing on things right in the middle of them, and I hope they're going to give this time to succeed. I think they're going to, as you guys have all said, I think they're going to be successful right out of the gate because people really want this stuff, and as Dom said, they're going with the heavy hitters. I want them to commit to, like, give it. It may take a few years to catch on. Marvel had. I don't know anything about the creation of the Epic line. Curtis may. I might get the answer before I die, but I don't know because I'm not going to ask Curtis because I'm not speaking to him anymore.
Oh no.
No, I'm kidding. But when the Marvel Epic line was created, and it just proliferated. It just kept going. You don't have any doubt that it's going to keep going. DC needs to prove to its fans that it can commit to this format.
Well, okay, yes. No, okay, you're absolutely right. But see, this is helpful to stop and go, why did this happen? You're right. DC has a track record of not completing things, but they have a track record of not completing things based on sucky sales.
Yeah.
That's why. I mean, DC doesn't wake up in the morning and go, it would be awesome. We'll get halfway through a range, get them addicted to it, and then cancel it just to exact maximum pain upon them. No,
it feels that way.
I know it does, but what happens is they try it out and they go, that didn't sell. If we keep publishing it, we're not going to make any money, or we're going to, because of opportunity cost, effectively lose money. We can't keep doing it. So see, this is exactly what I'm saying. Marvel's found a way.
Is that the fans' fault, or also DC's fault for maybe not marketing it well, or
DC has never had a great job with marketing.
It's the fault of just the reality that there are fewer warm bodies who want to buy some of this stuff. That's the reality. I think there are fewer people who want to buy it. Ergo, we have problems. It's a numbers game, and so it's not really anyone's fault. It's just this is what the market is, and I think the market. The reason they've stopped stuff halfway through is because the market has not always been there. Marvel is the same. Sometimes does the same thing. We just don't notice it as often. But Marvel also is going along like, oh, that's not selling. We're just going to stop.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for a third Ecstatics complete collection.
Yeah, see, Ecstatics, they bailed on that. They bailed on a lot of the thicker collections.
In the Epic line?
Yeah, well, and also the hardcovers. I mean, Squirrel Girl, they were doing the hardcovers, and then they just only did soft covers for that. And so Marvel quietly does the same thing. It's just that they've not been egregious about it like DC has. So I think hopefully the DC fans will catch on, because like the the Batgirl Cassandra Cain collection, I will absolutely buy that. Will they collect all of the Cassandra Cain run? I hope so, but it will depend on if there's enough warm bodies who buy it.
I will definitely buy that.
Yeah, and it's again, it's the market as much as anything else. It's the market.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kurtis, hold on. I want to highlight this because you were talking earlier about how people misspell your name and your email, even though it's right there. Our lovely friend Lance J. McNair was kind enough to.
How do we know he didn't do that on purpose, though?
Yeah, Kurtis can tell you to go to hell in the nicest, most sweet
He can.
way. I mean,
that
you
insult
actually
was
find it kind of
friendly?
comforting. It's actually kind of comforting.
Yeah, I take issue with it. That was a friendly insult.
No, Kurtis, please tell me to go to hell more often, because I do enjoy it.
If
Would
it
you
does help,
please
Bart,
go to hell?
That was a polite request to go
very
hell.
much so. But yes, we do have one, which is the Gail Simone or Wonder Woman Origins and Omens, which is coming out the second week of November. The nice thing about this is that it's not just 1938 to like 1985, it's 38 to 2011. We do have Cassandra Cain Batgirl coming out. That is the first Batgirl volume that is going to be out from this line. So seeing something 2000s in post is going to be nice.
Those ones, I think, because a lot of that material around the Flashpoint era, it's already been collected, because that was already the era of trade paperbacks. So they will have to do something that like give a reason for people to want to buy those modern collections. I mean, the same thing can be said for the modern era Epic collections. A lot of them are just reskins of complete collections, and so like, why am I going to rebuy this or upgrade?
No, exactly.
Same thing with that. So I think Wonder Woman in that case does offer something new, because it does have issues that have never been collected in this package before like this. So it's not just the Gail Simone issues. There's some other non-Gail Simone stuff in there.
That's thrown in with the because we around that time we had like the there was an Amazon's event that is slipping from my brain. Some of it is being collected in that, but yeah, I completely agree with Kurtis. I don't think we're gonna see those archives.
No, I'd be very surprised.
I think
I'm
it's
hanging
a
on
deadline.
to mine. Boy,
Yeah,
mine.
me too. But see, it's funny you mentioned that, because as you say, it would be helpful if they would do stuff they haven't collected before, because I finally decided against getting that Legion of Superheroes DC Finest, because I have the archives. I don't need them. But they've been out of print for ages. So if you're someone who doesn't own the archives, then yeah, that's a great opportunity to get them.
I went down to an old rundown comic shop while I was on vacation in Florida, and they had all the archives in there.
All of them?
All of them.
Well, that could be.
No.
Wow.
And they had like 5 or 6 each.
Actually, it was so sad. The last time I was at Mile High, and if you've not been at Mile High in Colorado, it is quite because it's an enormous warehouse. It's quite the experience. But they have these back racks, and like they leave the lights on every day, and they had some archive editions back there that had been completely, faded by the light. I was actually going to buy a couple of them, but they were too faded on the shelf. So yeah.
Gosh, I would love to go to that. I would fly to that store to fill out my archives collection. I love those archives.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a super small shop, but they had like everything there. And I was actually very shocked and surprised. I remember asking the person about it, and he had no clue. Felt like he'd only been working there for a couple of months or so, because even when I asked him like questions about modern comics, like he was completely confused. But you know, that's okay.
But is ever the
those
shelf?
those archive
Go ahead.
those archive collections also, if they were to restart them now, I mean, they would have to price them at the
Oh,
price point
See,
of the Masterworks as well.
this is the thing. I mean, they cost a fortune. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not saying they're not good quality. They are good quality, but they cost a fortune. And frankly, there are certain things that if given opportunity to buy them as DC's finest cheaper, I'm like, yeah, I'd probably do that.
I would
Yeah.
probably do that too.
Yeah, so the cover price of those archives are cheap back in the day, were cheaper than what the DC finest books are priced at now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you know, back in the day, they were outrageously priced in a way.
yeah.
But we
I remember they were. I
but
thought
we
they
have
were
inflation.
expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Curtis is right. They'd be charging like $100 each. It'd be outrageous.
I guess the same sort of question is in through for this. New Spooey's asking about if we have any opinions on the Valiant Universe line of thick trade paperbacks that they're putting out.
I think it's great if companies want to get their back catalog in stock. I think that's always a good option. I heard, and I don't know if this is right, that the Valiant Universe Hero Origins lines are only 1 volume per hero. They're not collecting the entire runs. They're just collecting like the
Yeah.
quote unquote the origin
Mhm.
stories of these characters.
Is that? Oh, and is that the newer Valiant universe or the Jim Shooter Valiant universe?
I think it's all newer stuff, isn't it?
Newer stuff. Okay,
Newer
that's the
stuff,
I think.
stuff that's hard to find.
Correct.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's the thing. It's been long enough that stuff is probably out of print and a little hard to get a hold of. So yeah,
Definitely.
I don't think it's the shooter era.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Mhm.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go finish.
I mean, I have a strange and enduring affection for Valiant. You know, anytime they put on an omnibus, I take a hard look at it. I got the Shadow Man omnibus. I got the Eternal Warrior omnibus. I prize the Quantum and Woody omnibus. Yeah, but I mean, they also have the continued struggle of, I suspect, trademark renewal. I suspect you do quietly wonder how much of this is just happening for trademark renewal and not, you know,
For sure.
their dedication to the new comics has kind of come and gone. Again, partly based on sales, but yeah, no, sure, it's welcome to that sort of material in print. Absolutely.
Trademark renewal is what drives a lot, I think, of these big stories for Marvel and stuff. Well, let's have a secret war where we have every character because it's been 7 years and we need to make sure our trademarks are still in use.
Well, exactly. And although, as Doctor Who proved, you know, with the TARDIS, if you don't keep up with your trademark, you can lose it. You can lose it. Because, sorry, for those of you who don't know, the police box in Doctor Who was owned by the police department in the United Kingdom, and then they stopped using it, and the BBC went to court and said, hey, they've stopped using this thing and we are using it for this weird show called Doctor Who. Could we get the trademark? And the court said, yeah, that's fine. So formerly it was owned by the police department, now it's owned by the BBC. So anyway, and of course the shame with Valiant is that they apparently were planning a raft of movies through Sony. Bloodshot had the indecency to come out right as the global pandemic hit. That probably didn't help. I'm not sure it was a great film anyway, but that didn't help, and that seems to put him on a chopping block. But yes, trademarks must be renewed.
For sure. I got 2 super chats to go to apologize, Jack Ferry, for running through questions in my ADHD. What do you think of Allred's Madman for the people here? I know
We talked about this, this week actually. Yeah, go ahead, Jess.
Huge fan, love it. Why do I love it? First of all, I love Allred's art. I totally get that is could be an acquired taste, his art, but it falls right into my wheelhouse of art that I really love. I love his Silver Surfer with Dan Slott, and Ecstatics. So I do love his art. I love the stories. You have to be willing to kind of have an open mind about Mike Allred's imagination, because Madman tends to fight a lot of like floating brains and heads in fluid jars and stuff and everything. It's and whatever he does, it's a big love letter to Joe, who he's always
who he's always pining for, and she's always right there for him. And I think Mike has already admitted that, like, Joe is really his wife, Laura. That's what it's turned into. It's just really fun. It is plot driven. It's not like just a bunch of random stream of consciousness stuff. It is very plot driven with like a beginning, middle, and end, but it's super fun. And you just have to be willing to say, okay, well, it's not Superman going up against Lex Luthor. It's Madman going up against Dr. Beatnik from Snap City. So I just think that's what I think of it. It's just a lot of fun.
I also agree. I love how Mike Allred will pair up with writers who think along the same lines as him often. Like, Peter Milligan with Ecstatics. Peter Milligan's just a weird guy. He often has really great and bizarre
He
ideas. I
definitely
love it.
does. Yeah.
But then Madman is pure, unfiltered Michael Allred. And it shows that that he can go in even more bizarre places than his collaborators, and it's great. Yeah, it's so good. Is all of it great? I think it had a rough start at the beginning. I'm not as much of a fan of the earlier issues because he was just finding his footing. But yeah, there's just some incredible stuff there. But yes, you do have to like the bizarre, like the weird, and embrace it all, because it is an acquired taste for sure.
That's what actually I like about the first library edition is that you can see how his writing and artistry progresses. You can see the rough. I agree that the beginning stuff is rough, even the lettering. But then you can see the progression when it starts to get really tight, and his writing starts to get really tight, and his art really starts to stand out. So I like seeing that progression, but I also agree that's it is, like everything when you first start out in comics, it can be a little rough.
I would be remiss to say that Clover Press has launched a Kickstarter for the Marvel art of Michael Allred.
Oh,
Right now, go to Kickstarter.
okay.
James, drop the link in the chat, please.
I
That's right.
already signed up for the early bird slipcase dust jacket edition.
Oh, nice. And yeah, and this dust jacket is reversible with some brand new art that we commissioned for that project. Very, very nice.
Ooh,
Fantastic.
nice.
Yeah, I'm Mad Men for me is one of those series that I greatly respect. I don't personally necessarily find it satisfying. There's some creators that actually their creator-driven stuff is fantastic, and then their superhero work is kind of a little limp. For me, Aldred's a bit the opposite. His run in Silver Surfer with Dan Slott was wonderful. Ecstatics was wonderful. I can't quite get there. We go. Thank you. Yeah, I can't quite get there on Mad Men. It's fine. I think I just need something a little more driven.
Mm-hmm.
But the world is a better place for Madman being in it. It's just not
Thanks,
quite my
James.
cup of tea.
Sure. Curtis, here's a question specifically for you. Do you know if Marvel will ever release? Thank you for the super chat again, Jack. Will they ever release Volume 12 of Iron Man in Epic Collection format?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean, their goal is to collect all of it. The question is when. We have no idea when they will plan on doing Volume 12, but they will get around to it for sure. Right now, they are moving through that era in the Masterworks. So my guess is that they'll want to wait so they can get because they're going to put a bunch of money in to get nice new restorations for that material. This is the tail end of Denny O'Neil's run, the very last third of it. And so I'm guessing they'll wait till that's all wrapped up, and then they'll have nice new shiny material to put in the Epic collection.
Okay, for sure. Thank you, Rosie, for the compliments. We are very excited for the third episode, or the first one, where we can actually start talking about the books. I will say, Curtis, literally the moment that we got off the stream, YouTube, when when you manually select, like you can schedule live streams, it worked right as we got off. And I'm so mad. I'm so mad.
Yeah, well, that's YouTube is they do whatever they want to do.
That's true. Madman, did it do a Superman crossover?
I seem to recall, yes.
I think it's in volume 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're fine starting in volume 2, and that's the library editions that I'm talking about. There was also a standalone trade paperback of Madman and Superman.
Okay. That I did not know.
Is Madman being published by DC?
Management with Dark Horse.
It was a crossover with DC and Dark Horse.
That was crossover.
Right. We got a thingy-mabob for Lars. Lars, that X-Men 166 was my very first X-Men. It would be a great gift if you would spend the rest of your show leaning on your writer left.
Yes, that's why I was bobbing and weaving earlier, so they could see. I mean, it is a fantastic. Oh gosh, I don't even know how to angle this, so you can't see my head. I realize that my head is less appealing than the poster, for which I apologize. Yes, I don't know if I should say it aloud. I will put in the comments the retailer for which I acquired it. There we go. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, they're great stuff. They're really great.
I mean,
by the way, so how are we on artist editions, gentlemen? Because I kind of love. I have a little hard time spending the. I worry that the money I would spend on them would not quite equal the enjoyment I would get out of owning them. But they are great, aren't they? Do we own any?
I have the Jim Lee X-Men artist edition, and it is fantastic. I mean, it's not one that I pull out.
No, I'm sure it's
great. I almost prefer if I were to just get a package of unbound pages like that, like take out all of the stitching so that I can put them up on my wall or something like that. Because I mean, the quality of the high resolution scans make it look like you're looking at the original art. Like there's no degradation on that you can see at all. It's incredible.
I am planning, depending on price, there's a Neil Adams one coming out, I think in November, maybe.
Correct.
Yeah.
Wait,
I'm going to take a hard look at that, getting that one. But otherwise, I don't own any.
Yeah, because, of course, at this point, they got the Dave Cockrum X-Men one, the John Byrne X-Men one, and then very shortly, the Paul Smith X-Men one. And they already have Jim Lee. And I'm like, that is pretty great, but that's a lot of money. And I just don't know how I would sit around and look at art that often.
Oh, speaking of which, Jess, that book got delayed to April next year.
Oh, it did? Oh, thank you.
Which you can, of course, check out at comicreleases.com, the website, of course, in which I run and own and make sure that everybody's up to date with literally every single one of their bookies. We just put in the solicitations for all the independent companies yesterday. And our show will be that on Monday. Let me see if I can find... Gosh, I just had a thing and I lost it. This is terrible. It's not complicated enough for Lars.
No, I was saying it's slightly the opposite. It's slightly, I want things to be intellectual in the sense of being well written, and I want things to be smart, and I want them to be funny, but I also want a good plot. I also want to be drawn along by events, So sometimes if a book is just kind of, I'm like, well, the art's great, it's just kind of sitting there. When will something happen?
And here's another question for you. Where are the Marvel?
That's a very good question, and I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't. Well. I mean, technically,
they're co-owned by Marvel and Wildstorm.
Actually, sorry. Yes, the answer to that is really Marvel Wildstorm. They would still continue to hold the rights. It's just whether they can be bothered to renew them. Again, there's been such renewed conversations between the companies of late. I mean, we're getting the Marvel DC crossover omnibus next week, I think, and Amalgam's coming out, and there's all. I mean, it's something like, can't you just reprint JLA Avengers? I mean, for God's sakes. So yeah, it's just whether they can be bothered to talk to each other and get it done.
And
I
speaking
think
of
it's
talking to each
odd.
other, with Marvel, Wildstorm, and all the DC finest, you can get all of those books at cheapgraphicnovels.com, our
Oh.
American sponsor, where, of course, you can get all of your books for 40 to 50% off here in the States. And if you let them know that we sent you in your order, you will get your next order with free shipping. That's Cheap Graphic Novels. I don't have a ting, but Jeff, gosh, I can't say anything. Do you have the boing thingy-ma-bob? That was the worst botch of a ding I think I ever could have thought of.
I feel like we're living in a Rogers. Oh, there we go. I feel like we're living in a Rogers and Hammerstein musical that, Dom stops to sing every once in a while.
There is nothing like cheap graphic novels. Nothing in the world.
We once did a production of Brigadoon, and it always killed me in Brigadoon that they're having a crisis, and if they don't stop this guy, they will all essentially die horribly, and they stop to sing about it. And I'm like, stop singing! Go catch him before he does the thing.
The Thing. Speaking of The Thing, I guess he's never written it, but what are your guys' opinions on Tom King? Question from Vigilante.
Okay.
I think the only Tom King I've read is Vision, and I really liked that. There you go. That's it right there. Yep.
Are you
That's the only one I can pull. Everything else is in the DC room.
Jess keeps it on hand to warm it with his thighs, like a mama duck warming her eggs.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yes, what do you think of Tom?
I'm a huge Tom King fan. I've liked virtually everything. I've liked almost everything he's written. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, I think is one of the best books I have just read in my lifetime. I love Tom King's writing. I'm not sure. I know Peter doesn't like his writing, and I don't know that I can. I don't have a feeling for writers like, oh, I don't like that writer's style, so I'm not going to purchase it. I don't really know. I guess I don't dive deep enough into maybe a writer's style. Maybe I don't want to talk about Peter behind his back, even though I like to. So I feel kind of sorry for Peter that he can't get into Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, because I love that book, and that's just only some of. I like almost everything. The only book of his that I have not cared for was Heroes in Crisis, and I think that lots of people feel that way. I don't know if that was editorial or him, but I enjoyed his Batman run. Some parts were stronger than others. The deluxe editions 3 and 4 are some of the best Batman I've ever read. I just read Human Target, and that was awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Human Target was just fantastic. So I could see how his Wonder Woman could be polarizing, because it's fairly political, and I can see how that may rub people the wrong way. I read it with more of an open mind, but he's one of my favorite writers. So there's my answer.
I read him. It's weird how a lot of people swear by Tom King, and a lot of people despise him.
Yeah,
it is a very now. Those are two very large camps, which is why when we did our voting on the most wanted omnibus, it was the Tom King Batman omnibus. Was number one requested. I'm somewhere in the middle. He's the sort of writer I will always check him out, because even if I don't like it, it's always interesting. And it's interesting to me how people are having the same reaction to him that they did to Grant Morrison, because Grant Morrison comes along on Batman, and there's an awful lot of people who like, what is this weird stuff you're doing? I just want the traditional Batman punching people in the face sort of thing. And of course, I'm always like, well, if you just want traditional Batman punching people in the face, you won't be denied. I mean, those stories are all over the place. So I'd say Tom King, at least half of his stuff, I thought, wow, that's Mr. Miracle is really great. Actually, Human Target was really good. It took me a while with Danger Street. I did get there. Gotham Year One I think Gotham Year One is one of his.
Yeah, Gotham Year
that's really good. But I think that there's all this other stuff that I didn't care for. I didn't really care for the Rorschach one. I
can see that.
Yeah, the Rorschach one kind of didn't get where it needed to be. What else have I read?
How about Strange Adventures?
I think so. So the trick with Tom King is just you realize that as long as Mr. Miracle set the precedent that these are all Elseworld stories, basically these are non-continuity stories. So I think let him break the toys as he pleases because it doesn't count. I think people didn't like Heroes in Crisis because it was in mainstream DC universe and you have to live with the repercussions of those decisions. I think that's why it choked people in the throat. But as long as he's just going off and doing whatever he wants, then it's always interesting. It's always interesting to me. But sometimes it's like, that didn't work. I'm not going to buy it. Like I think I read Rorschach on DC Infinite, but I didn't purchase it.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I always read Tom King because 99% of the time he usually will have a top-notch level artist or an artist that like I at least recognize on his books. And I guess in that art form, I will always check it out because he's usually paired up with someone great. Like Wonder Woman, he has Daniel Sampere on art. Most recently, Ryan Sook is going to be doing a Black Canary book with him, and that's enough for me to check it out. I think I'm in the middle with Lars. Like I will always probably check it out. Like Jessica mentioned, it's just that sometimes he hits really well. Sometimes I don't care as much, I guess, as I should. So I think I'm probably there for you.
I think he's best served in the Elseworlds format because in the Elseworlds format, if he connects, you're like, great, I love this, I will buy it. And if he doesn't connect, then just quietly ignore it. You know,
for sure.
Because because Human Target, I'm with you, Jess. I thought Human Target was really good. I'm thrilled it was not DC mainstream universe. Those are not decisions I would want. Again, I won't spoil it for people, but the decisions that the Justice League International characters make, I would not want that permanent in the DC universe that we would have to live with those decisions.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
but as an exploration of the Human Target and these characters, fabulous. Yeah,
I agree. Yes, Sato. We won against the Yankees last night in pretty convincing fashion, but we are doing well. For those who don't know,
stupid Dodgers.
Freddie Freeman is one of the greatest players of all time, and I mean that's a fact. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame as a first ballot. Anyways, Mr. Walter has a question for, I guess, our panel. He's asking for sci-fi recommendations. Do you guys have any?
I haven't read any.
I will say that the Alien.
I think he's asking specific about the Alien comics. Kurtis probably knows more about this than I do.
I only know what I've read in the 2 Epic collections that have come out, and they're fantastic. They are really, really great, both Aliens comics and sci-fi comics, and with wonderful artists and great writing. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that. I don't know any of the other Alien comics that have come out after the material that is passed in the Epic collections. But
okay.
So is there Dark Horse Aliens and Marvel Aliens books, or is Marvel putting Dark Horse?
There are. So the Epic collections collect the earliest Dark Horse material because because Disney bought up the Fox properties, and so Marvel has access to doing those comics. So Aliens in the Epic collections is the old stuff, but Marvel has been doing more new modern Alien stories.
Okay. Well, yeah,
I haven't read those.
Well, so I've read the first issue of Alien versus Avengers, whatever that's being called. I think only the first issue is out, and it was
only the first.
It was really good.
That's what I've heard.
I mean,
I agree.
It's not in continuity, so it's fine because Aliens in continuity would be a problem. It's it's decades in the future, and a lot of this is the problem. Is a lot of the traditional heroes aren't there anymore to deal with this problem. Valeria Richards is grown up, so it's a new generation, kind of the old guard, and then the aliens arrive. And as a great side. It's a great side story.
I agree.
It
I want to see Aliens. I want to see Alien versus Brood with the X-Men. With the X-Men caught in the middle.
I feel like we might
would
get some of those
actually
in
be
future issues.
that has possibilities. That
That
would
does.
be very, very good.
I'm trying to see.
But otherwise, I've always struggled a bit with the Alien material because somehow removed that visual element that cinema gives you, and trying to do it on paper, like a chest burster on paper is never as effective for me as seeing it on the big screen. I went to a retro showing of the original Alien movie a while back, and I was like, oh my god, this is made for the cinema. This is made to be viewed in a proper movie theater. So the comics have, I've always lacking. Maybe it's probably failing on my part, lacking that visual element of the cinema. I can't quite get there. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I will add to that, the book or the single issues have been delayed a good bit because
They really have. Yeah.
Asad Ribic needs time to draw.
Yeah.
Also not exactly the strongest, but I did see some of those. I was just like, it is what it is. Hey, Big Stu, hope you're doing well, man. As far as a semi-concrete schedule goes, again, is concerned, because I'm sort of picking up at least some of the slack for Omar. I have an overview of the Radiant Black hardcover coming out tomorrow. Omar will be back filming again sometime Tuesday or Wednesday, because we need to put the all the collected edition list out for the month of November. So I'm getting the material set for that. So today is going to be a busy day for me. BJ Kicks has a video for Omar coming on Tuesday. That's actually, unfortunately, all I do have, but there will be a couple of Omnibus overviews, hopefully on next week, Thursday or Friday, by Omar. And I have a couple more videos in the works whenever the books come in. I'm going to be doing overviews on it, but that is what I do have. But yes, this is what we do have. Thank you, Mr. James. I will be back Monday morning with Taylor and Joe Loves Comics on that morning. And then Tuesday, Old Reader, New Reader. And then, yes, we do have a Reels talk as well as that. So that is what we do have, and the additions of what I've said, all in throughout. Let me see if I can find. All right, Sato, here's a question. Here's a question for Kurtis. Are you going to do a DC Finest YouTube channel in the same spirit as your Epic channel?
Well, yes. In fact, I set one up already. You can go search for the Finest DC channel on YouTube, and you'll find it there. Whether it'll be in the same spirit as the Epic channel, I'm not sure. I just honestly barely have enough time to do the Epic collection stuff, so we'll see how much of the DC stuff I do. But we'll give it a try. Hey, Maddie.
Sure.
Hey, Maddie.
Maddie.
Always good to see you.
Let me see. Maybe we can convince DC to give us paperbacks of Task Force C and Justice League Incarnate. Have a good night. Hey, have a good weekend too as well. Did anybody else's YouTube browser just... I think, well, we're still up, but I know we're not on YouTube.
Right.
So there is that as far as that's concerned. Have any of y'all read Revival by Tim Seeley?
No, I'm afraid not.
I have. I loved it. Let's see. In a small Wisconsin snowy town, a young woman sheriff is in charge of when the dead come back to life, but not as zombies, but as reanimated versions of themselves. They're normal and wondering what has just happened after they are killed. So she's trying to solve that. She's trying to solve whoever's killing them. She has a very difficult relationship with her father, who was the previous sheriff or chief of police. And it's an ongoing, it's got really nice, beautiful art. And I think it's one of Tim Seeley's better creations. It's really, really good. I enjoyed it a lot. I can't remember how it ends right now, but I know that's how it begins, when the dead start coming back to life as themselves, with and wonder what the heck's going on. She's got to figure that out. And then the press comes in and they seal off the town, and it's a whole thing. So yeah, Mink, I think you'd enjoy it.
It's amazing.
Dom has abandoned us. I now feel like it's some sort of trap. You know, we were all led in here, and then he quietly disappears, and then the commandos come in to slaughter us.
Dear.
Yeah.
We can't even go on to a new comment.
No, I'm just gonna quickly look at the feed, see if there's anything we missed.
Oh wait. He said he'd be right back. Okay.
Yeah. Someone mentions that it is true that the new Alien movie is coming out on VHS.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Jesus Christ! What? who would have thought about that? Well, that just shows
you can go and watch it at my grandma's house.
I think I have a VHS player collecting massive amount of dust in the basement. But...
We'll come and watch it at your place then at Christmas.
Well, I guess. I mean, wow, incredible.
I am back. Just had to quickly do something.
Oh.
Yes, I did. We do need more milk. Wait, hold on. I got the joke now. I'm sorry.
This is like when they were hearing for the Supreme Court, and they all left their audio on, and one of the justices and a flush was heard in the background. You know?
Oh no!
Yeah.
There you go. We need a Finest Epic channel.
Finest Epic channel. Yeah. So I decided I contemplated whether I rebrand the Epic collection, everything Epic collection that I have now, just to be general comics, so I can put the DC stuff in there, but then I have to like change URLs and whatever, and I've already got top spots on Google for Epic collections, so it's like, no, I'm not gonna change all that.
Wait, I'm so embarrassed, Chris. I've been following your podcasts when you do them pretty thoroughly, but and social media. But wait, you have a YouTube channel on the Epics?
I only just use it to like unbox some Epic collections when Marvel sends them to me and that kind of thing. So it's that's about it.
Okay, I think I see those videos on social media. Yeah.
I'm thinking about doing sort of the same thing, Kurtis, because the problem is, when I started off, I was an X-Men podcast, and I don't do as much X-Men stuff as often now. Like sometimes I do occasionally like talk about like for example the Deadpool Wolverine movie. That was pretty much the last thing I did X-Men really. And also review X-Men 97. That was the last real big thing that I did with X-Men. But a lot of people have been gravitating over to my channel now because of the DC stuff. A couple of my DC videos blew up, on top of course, being on this channel, which I think has helped me a lot. Of course, there you can find Mr. Kurtis. But now it's like, it feels weird being called Dom of X when I don't really do much X-Men anymore. I mean, I am planning to get all the From the Ashes trades and talk about it. That's not for a while, but most of my content's DC
Especially
now.
if you're DC, if a DC guy being called Dom of X.
Yeah, it feels
but you know
weird.
what? It's just
It's brand
branding
now,
it's what we know you as, and so you should keep it.
Yeah, you should.
Well, it's funny you mention that because look, and I have to be a little vague here. There's another community that I walk in, and apparently I have been barred from using the term Norwegian assassin because it was said that I was, and this is horrifyingly real, it was said that I was making people feel unsafe. And so with name, so I've been trying to find another name, and like the Norwegian who walks or something like that. And it did occur to me to take inspiration from The Great Escape and start calling myself Big X. And then I remembered that it didn't end well for Big X. It didn't end well at all.
No.
So I'm gonna have to find another name in that community, but I can still use it here. Hopefully, none of you feel unsafe by my using.
Was it the assassin part that people felt unsafe, or the Norwegian part?
Well, they said it was because an assassin is someone who kills people, but I think you're right. I think it was quite racist. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. But yeah, maybe I'll just think about rebranding. It just okay. Yeah. I don't know, man. It feels weird again being called the X person when I'm like, I don't talk about X-Men that much often, even though I still love, like, the X-Men are still my favorite superhero team, still some of my favorite characters. It's also my favorite comics ever.
Have you ever considered Dom of 10?
Yeah. That's excellent.
or 10 of Dom. That's actually, hey, you know what? That's not a bad name. Although I'd probably just keep the X. I don't know. Maybe I'll thoroughly think over at some point. Do we have any Halloween traditions here amongst the panel?
Good question.
I mean,
Not
trick or treating with my kids. That's about it.
But you are or you aren't?
Oh yeah, I
You
am.
are.
I will.
So okay, so it's funny you mentioned that because here in Central Iowa, so because I grew up in Story City, which is in Iowa. Yeah, it's Story City, which is the town that the Fables story takes place in. There's a tradition called Beggar's Night, and Beggar's Night is separate from Halloween. Okay, you have Halloween night, and then like maybe a day or two before that, that Beggar's Night is when you take the kids around to collect all the candy. And there's also an expectation that like they kind of have to work for it. They all either have to do a trick or tell a good joke. Then we give them the candy. I grew up thinking that everybody in the world does this. You have Beggar's Night. And then it turned out, no, it was just a Central Iowa thing.
Yeah, weird.
It goes back to the 70s when it was believed that like Halloween night was a night of too much crime and just people acting out, and the police would be too busy dealing with that. And so the city planners were like, why are we putting kids into this mix? Let's just put the kids out at some other night, and then, you know, we can deal with everything on Halloween night. So yeah, so we have the tradition here called Beggar's Night, which is not the 31st.
Okay, interesting.
That actually is very interesting.
Yeah. I've never heard of anything like that.
No, but like I say, I grew up thinking, well, everybody does this, surely. No.
Yeah.
No, they really don't. Yeah.
I don't know if I can
Wait. I can't speak for how many parts of America are so crime riddled that this is an actual concern. But
I was the worst for sure. Yeah.
Like Iowa is crime central, as you all know. But it makes sense. It's like, okay, we'll have this evening for the kids, and then we'll have this evening for the adults. It's like, yeah, that's not a terrible idea.
That's not a terrible idea at all. Really, the only tradition that I have like a long sleeve Nightwing shirt that I always wear on Halloween, even though like because sometimes well, not sometimes, my brother has friends in high school and they do their like rounds of trick-or-treating because they have fun with it. I usually wear because like sometimes like the parents will come over, hang out with my parents, and then they all just hang out. Yeah, I mean that's it. I mean, I'm not really. I used to be super into Halloween, and then I wore a Batman costume when I turned 13. I looked really good in it, and I haven't done it since because I was like, okay, I sweat too much in these. These aren't worth it anymore, so I quit after that. The thing that stinks for me though is like I'm not a big candy guy. As weird as I guess it is for me to say that.
Yeah, me too.
I would always get like I would always get like, you know, big bags or however much candy I could get. And I just give it to my friends when I got to school because I'm like, I don't eat this, guys. You can have it. I don't care. So I think it's become like more of a chore for me as far as Halloween is concerned with the trick-or-treating rituals, which kind of feels bad for me to say, but it's also like I'm not a candy guy, and I sweat too much in cosplay. So
those are two strikes against it then.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I love candy. Upper management bought the candy for Halloween and then gave it to our next door neighbor to keep safe from me. So I wouldn't find it in the house and eat most of it.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah. Someone in the feed was mentioning how their country has taken a while to warm up to Halloween. And it has been interesting to me to watch the Brits, because I have a lot of British friends because of Doctor Who and whatnot, and how they've had to warm up to the idea of fun. It seemed like Halloween wasn't a big thing for them. And then they finally started to decide, oh, this is quite fun. We should do it. Prom is kind of the same way. They didn't have as many proms, and I think they're having a few more proms now because like, oh, this is a fun thing to do. But I was in Britain or London in the late 90s during Halloween. I was at a convention and I was watching a Halloween film festival event, and they showed Halloween, the movie. It's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then they showed From Dusk Till Dawn. It's like, oh, well, you know, vampires. Yeah, that makes sense. And then the next film was Caligula. And I was like, well, it is horrifying, but in a very different way. Although that's when I got my training, as it were, they stopped and explained all the different versions of Caligula because it's
Okay, forgive me if I'm wrong though,
Yeah.
Lars. Caligula was a Roman emperor back in the 1st century
Yes.
A whatever.
yeah.
Is that how they got the name? Because like Caligula was this like terrible person, murdered a lot of people, and then they just attached the name onto lore, or is it am I
What lore do you mean? I mean, well, Caligula was a Julio Claudian emperor in Rome for about. I think he only ruled for about
4 years, 37 to 41, if I recall
4
correctly.
years. He was such a nut job that he was brutally stabbed to death. And then the movie is kind of on his life and is this drawn out, crazed, padded erotica that just you are like starring. I think Malcolm McDowell is the star.
It has an all-star cast that I just read a big article on it, as a matter of fact,
Yeah.
a couple of weeks ago. It has an all-star British cast with like Sir John Gielgud and Helen Mirren and all these other people that thought they were in for a real life reenactment of Caligula.
Yeah.
And then it got broken down because it was being financed by Penthouse magazine publisher Bob Guccione, who then decided he was going to stick a bunch of his Penthouse pets in there, and all the sex scenes were going to become like real sex scenes. And all these classical actors are horrified at it now. And I don't even think they ever even put it on their IMDb, that hopefully, but it turned, he took over control of it and made it this completely twisted, weird thing where it was even weird to start with. Whatever the life of Caligula was, the story of how that movie got made is almost as crazy, I think, as the life of Caligula.
The story of Caligula, the movie, is much more interesting than the movie in a way. Now you can see how they were fooled. Yeah, I know. You can see how they were fooled because, like, at the time there'd been a tradition of historical movies like Cleopatra and Ben-Hur and they probably thought it was in that vein, and then suddenly it's this, oh Jesus Christ. If you want what is a exceptional piece of drama about Caligula, then watch I, Claudius, which is by today's standards not very big budget, but the cast, it's the life of the Emperor Claudius who followed Caligula, and that's an exceptional piece of work. That's an exceptional piece of television.
Thank you for being here, Neon Love. We appreciate it. Okay, what's the panel's opinion on candy corn? You gotta hear it.
I try not to do processed sugar if I can.
Okay.
I eat processed sugar every chance I get. You've never had candy corn?
I don't think I've ever tried candy corn before.
Is it not a Canadian thing?
It was never in my candy bag trick-or-treating, that's for sure.
Okay.
People want me to change, but you know what? I have had people suggest to lean into the mature themes of the name, including so I play basketball. I have a basketball league that I play on weekends. We won our first playoff game last week, and now we're going up against the number 1 seed. Ooh. If we win against this, we're going to the championship. The thing is, one of my teammates, now they're all like my dad's age, like they're all people who I consider like uncle figures, with the exception of one. He's in his like late 30s. But he subscribed to my channel and he loves my content, and he said, have you ever considered calling yourself the dominatrix of X?
And you get a lot more subscribers, I can promise you that.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Your OnlyFans name.
That I agree, Curtis. It's just that
it makes an impression. It makes an impression, certainly.
It's true. But the thing too is I was like, all right, I don't know how many of the creators who told me that like, hey, we'd love to be back on your channel to do interviews. I don't know how many of them would be jumping at the gun to do them now, but that's a different story for a different time. I will say though, 4 years ago when I ran an X-Men podcast, my podcast co-host, when I told him, hey, I want to do YouTube, he said, you should have your followers sub to Dom as like the outro. And I was like, oh, like, you know how like subscribe to like, when
sub
whatever
to Dom,
like sub to Dom, like, as that. I was like, oh, okay. I like that then. But yeah, anyways,
James has already clipped that, by the way.
I should already. Yeah, I should do
James
do
already
that.
did it.
Well, there are certain X-Men costumes that you just think you could just hand them a whip and then they'd be ready to go on the dominatrix front. Speaking of such things,
Anyone in the Hellfire Club?
yeah, particularly the Hellfire Club. By the way, those of you who haven't done it, you know, the Hellfire Club X-Men was inspired by an old episode of the Avengers 60s spy series. There was an episode called A Touch of Brimstone. And I did finally sit down and watch A Touch of Brimstone purely because it was part of it. And it is wonderfully bizarre. And there's a character there who seals his own doom with a whip. So yeah, it's great fun if you're an old nerd like
Okay,
me.
I will. I'll
Yeah.
add it to the list
Yeah.
of the never-ending things I have to add to the
Well,
list.
you have to be prepared for the speed of 1960s Avengers, though. But
Mhm.
yeah,
I do
Oh,
like
I-
I do like that era. I've been trying to find a streaming service that has all of the Avengers seasons. Up here in Canada, it's not really a possibility. It seems like you can get season 3 on Amazon Prime, and that's it. And I don't know why, just
Well,
that season.
annoyingly, you could buy all of them. And if you're me and a Doctor Who nutcase, there were certain single episodes I was buying just to have them, and then you could no longer buy them. Now they didn't take my episodes away. I still have all the episodes I purchased, but yeah, they're not for sale anymore, which is quite annoying.
Mm-hmm. I will add to this Chandasuk. My so on the back of our jerseys, you know how like in sports there's usually like a name and the number on the back, right, to signify who the person is. The what do I have on the back? It's Dominator. I have Dominator on the back of my jersey. So I guess
Nice.
I'm leaning into it. Okay, stretch run. I think if the crew is cool for another 5 to 7 minutes, we
Sure.
will be happy to answer whatever questions you'd like us to ask, because we came here 6 minutes late live.
And then we
Um,
have lunch, and then most importantly, my local comic book store is doing Mayhem-a-Palooza
Oh,
today. I don't even know what that means.
I don't know what that means.
I will have to step out for Mayhem-a-Palooza.
Oh gosh, Max, no, no, please.
Omar's going to come back and go, "What did you do to my Saturday morning show?"
All I will say to this, I mean, considering how many kids the guy has, I will say he probably has a very active and healthy sex life. Do you think Marvel will finish out the rest of the original 2099 runs in omnibus format? I know Ravage, I should say, wasn't hugely popular, but I hope they complete the whole set of original 2099 titles.
I mean, Ravage is going to be the hardest sell for sure because that character just didn't have a contemporary counterpart, and so like the
Right.
branding on that one is not going to be as as easy as like Spider-Man or X-Men.
No, but if they have out everything but Ravage, you think they'd be tempted to try it. Because at this point, could there be much? Well, no, there is quite a bit of. Can there be much of 2099 left that they haven't collected?
What have they done already? They've done
Oh,
Spider-Man and X-Men, and they have Doom/Fantastic Four coming
Ghost
out.
Rider 2099 just hit the shelves.
Yep.
Ghost Rider, that's right. So there's also Punisher,
Oh, there is Punisher. You're right. Well, maybe
and there's also Hulk had a short run, and then there's like bits and bobs of things in like
yeah. Well, those weren't
2099 Ultimate.
those weren't very
Unlimited.
long runs. Maybe they could put Punisher and Ravage together or something. I don't know.
All right.
Hulk was like just a few issues, I think,
Yeah.
before it
Yep.
before the whole thing got canned. So yeah, if they did Hulk 2099 plus Ravage 2099, because there's like 30 issues of Ravage or something like that.
Yeah. I don't know. They've been more dedicated to those than I was expecting, because they put out Ghost Rider 2099 when there is so much of Ghost Rider they've not collected in omnibus form. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. How are you guys feeling about the DC Compact comics so far? I work at a bookstore inside an airport. They sell really, really well.
Oh, good.
That is the impression
Yeah,
I've been getting from a lot of people, including not my local comic shop, but a comic shop near me. That is very much the case.
That's great.
Yeah, I've been hearing that they sell really well too. I think the price point is definitely a selling point, and they're not terribly small either. I mean, they're definitely smaller than standard size, but it's not unreasonable. Like you can still read Watchmen in all of its tiny dialogue very easily in
That's
that.
true.
It's
Mhm.
it's actually really good.
Yeah.
And it's going to
Yeah.
sell gangbusters because Watchmen is um on university reading lists here
Yeah.
in Vancouver
Yeah.
at least.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Oh, it's in
and
my
so they're
go ahead.
yeah, so they're constantly selling those. So instead of buying the $30 trade,
Yeah.
they're going to students will now have a $15 option, which I think means that they will probably sell far more copies of Watchmen than they even did before.
Yeah. They seem to be doing really well. At that price point, I don't really know how they're making any money. But then again, making money might not be the point. I mean, goosing people on buying comic books might be the point. There's all sorts, because again, I've walked into Target and I've seen them sitting there in Target. There's all sorts of people who wander in places like Target, and you need to sell them something. Just to go, hey, comics are great. You should buy more of them. And yeah, as a lure, it's great.
Yeah, I have
More-
a Target close to me, and
Yeah.
they had a whole like section dedicated to them. Like I went a week later to see if like if they reshuffled their Pokemon stock. Went back to the DC section. Almost most of them were gone from the week before.
Sure.
So they might be doing
Yeah,
something.
That's
They
great.
might be doing something right there.
More and more standard retailers are preferring that size rather than the bigger size, just because you can fit more shelves on in your aisle if you have smaller books.
Yeah.
And so and same with libraries, they prefer that size too.
Well, and comics are a slightly odd height compared to a lot of other formats. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Vigilante, we answered that question. We talked about Tom King for 10-15 minutes. Rewind.
Everyone
back.
in the world loves him. Thank you.
There. But
Except
yes,
Crushing Crisis.
Thank you.
Except for Crisis.
What is your guys' most wanted DC finest of all the ones that have been solicited?
Good question.
I already said.
Wait. Yeah, solicited or unsolicited?
Up till March. We'll go till March.
I'll go.
Oh, it's already out? Okay.
1970 to 1974, Batman and Superman. Separately, not World's Finest. Batman, Superman.
Right.
Perfect.
Well,
Sweet
yeah,
spot.
there is a 70s Superman collection, like DC Finest on the schedule.
Mhm.
So that's
coming out in
good.
June
That's
next
good
year.
for you.
Yeah.
Do you know what part of the 70s?
Let me. You know what? I have the things. Hold on. I'm going to now look up this courtesy of.
Does it
Superman,
start with Kryptonite Nevermore? Because that's where it starts.
Yep.
Yes,
Action,
it does start there.
I think it does.
390 Action 393 to 406 and Superman 233, 238 and 240 to 246 coming out next year on the 3rd of June.
It jumps around in the Superman stuff?
No. They just there's one issue that's a reprint issue, so they skipped over that one.
They did do a bunch of that. Yeah, that's right.
It is a full block of Superman. There you go.
Good. Okay, let's just hope I can live until next March or whatever, right, Curtis? I've got my goal.
You've got 6 months.
I've got 6 months to live. Thank you.
Well, hopefully that will keep you going.
Yes, I have something to live for now.
Yes.
You're much like Jimmy Carter living long enough to say, I want to live long enough to vote for Kamala Harris. This is exactly the same thing.
Absolutely. And here's one quick question for Curtis, and I think how old are you, Curtis? Maybe you read them easily, but I don't think Jess agrees with you for that.
Maybe you read them easily. Wait, what are we talking about?
I have no idea.
About DC Compact. I was talking about the size of Watchmen.
I don't know many, so I don't know.
I am 43, but from the age of 5, I've had the eyes of a 65-year-old. So it does take some effort to read. I need good lighting, but but I still thought it was fine. I mean, I only flipped through it in the bookstore because I didn't buy it myself, but I thought it looked great.
Yeah. I'm very fortunate. My eyesight's pretty good. But of course, I grew up with those tiny little digests. I think they had a reprint of Giant Size X-Men #1 and X-Men 117, and I believe you buy these little books, but it was like panel by panel. I mean,
Yeah,
were
exactly. Little
small.
pocket books.
And at the time, I was jubilant because we grew up. Yes, not like that. Jubilant because we grew up accessing the material was the hardest thing. And so if you put it in front of me, I mean, completely unacceptable these days because it's panel by panel. But and the compact ones, it's like, well, the big lure is the price point. I mean, clearly.
I don't have to wear glasses to read, so
okay, there you go.
There you go.
There we go.
You're good.
The lucky man of all us four. And speaking of us four, I think we can all say this was super fun to get to chat to you guys again this weekend, filling in for Omar. We really, really appreciate you all hanging out with us and talking to us, asking questions and all that. I promise at some point I will be better at moderating the chat because it is hard. It's not as hard when it's not your focus. It is hard when it is your focus and you have to coordinate and everyone get their say and all that. But let's go ahead and push in the links before we head out. OmniDog will probably be live later. He definitely will be live later today.
Not today.
Not today.
I do not have anything left today. No batter days. Thank you. Thank you, James. Tomorrow at 7 p.m., Jessica and I will be talking about Barbarian and Longlegs on a random horror stream. So nothing else the rest of the day. I need to recover from Barbarian. Thank you for your
enough. Fair enough. And of course, you can follow Kurtis on all of the stuffs here on this very own website. Here is,
you
of
don't
course,
need to highlight them all.
There are a lot
good job. He's here.
Epic Marvel Podcast and the finest DC channel. Of course, our good friend Kurtis has the Facebook group, which you can check out there. Mr. Non-Norwegian Assassin to one part, but Norwegian Assassin to every part other than the one. Has his own at madnorwegian.com. And of course, you can find me on this very spot on YouTube, as well as comicreleases.com, where I have literally every single big book up on the site up until August of next year, where you can track it live and update it. But thank you all so much for hanging out with us once again. I am Dom. He is Kurtis. He's Jess. He's Lars. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful weekend, everybody.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.